My name is Krissa Watry, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Dynepic Incorporated, and these are my notes on innovation. We're in my garage. I've made it into my innovation studio, or my ideation lab. We had an unfortunate happening with our house getting filled with mold, and that's where I did a lot of my, free thinking and creating. And we just decided, okay, if I can't operate in there, as it's being reconstructed, I'll just create my space out here. And to be honest, this is cool. Like, it's much cooler than being in the house. I literally thought about, like, could I put my bed out here? Like, because it's just fun. It's nice to have a creative space that you can just, that reflects me, my personality, and I can just operate and come up with new ideas. So I think of myself mostly as an innovator. So I like to design a lot of products. I like to solve problems, and I'm always looking at friction points in everyday life, or the way things are done. And I'm always thinking of, like, that could be done better. How could I solve that? Yeah, you know how you know what you're meant to do is because it's what you do on your free time. So if I even get like a few hours off, it's like my brain goes crazy on a new idea, and then I have to spend all day that I have off doing that new idea, which luckily I have a husband that's okay with that. Because, a lot of my free time is spent in the lab, developing new ideas or bouncing them off him, and he even helps here and there, especially on things that he gets excited about. I'm originally from just outside of Portland, Oregon. So actually, if you played the Oregon Trail game ever, the end of the Oregon Trail is Oregon City. That game is where I grew up, so Oregon City. So from Oregon, joined the military. I really knew at a young age that I wanted to do something mechanical. My dad was a mechanic, and he said, "Krissa, they don't make money." And I was like, "Oh, well, then I'll be a mechanical engineer." And sure enough, I kind of followed that mindset, saw some early stuff on TV about MIT was doing some battle competitions in the early 90s, and was like, "Dude, I want to go to MIT." My dad's like, "Well, that's like the best school." And I was like, "Well, then I'm definitely going there." At the end of high school, as I started to approach, we didn't have the financial means, to even consider Ivy League education. And I heard about this institution called the Air Force Academy, that I could get it paid, and they were top rated. And I was like, So I got into the Air Force Academy, and that at the end of my Air Force Academy time, I actually got a full ride Draper Fellowship to go to MIT. This time on the taxpayer's dollar, as a second lieutenant. I think the military is great, especially if you don't know what you want to do with your life, right? It gives a lot of functional skill sets. I had no idea. I mean, my grandfathers had served in the military, right? World War II. I didn't know what that really was about when I joined, but when I got there, like, I really excelled. I liked the disciplined environment. Although I've always, people are like, they think it's one-sided in the military, right? You're told what to do and you have to do it. I would challenge that. Like, I got to do whatever I thought needed to be done to accomplish the mission, and my leadership always supported me in that. So I always spoke my mind. My commanders always said, "You get away with it because you've always been right." But if you're never right, you're going to pay those consequences. But luckily, right, like that, I was able to fit in that environment and still be myself. And yeah, I thought it was really good. And obviously it put me on a path where I was able to do things that I couldn't do otherwise. So I really liked my time in the military for sure. So I went to Space Command. So I got to take over as a lieutenant, early captain in the Air Force. I was the chief engineer for our ultra secure communication satellites that are in GEO. So I got to manage that, very expensive constellation that keeps warfighter communication on presidential networks. So that was obviously a awesome experience, but I was on call too 24/7, right? Like if warfighters are out of comm, we're called in to fix satellites. I got out of the military and went into the civilian sector. Knowing the aerospace side, I got to join kind of an evolving aerospace company in Seattle. And that was super fun because I got to innovate below. It wasn't my company, but I got to learn from an amazing CEO who was figuring out how to grow his startup in the commercial spaceflight arena. So there were a lot of challenges, and we got to figure out how to solve them. And he would go on the road and sell stuff, and I got to be at home and figure out with the team how to go execute everything that he sold, which was sometimes crazy. But yeah, that's when we had boxes that have docked with the space station. We were developing horizontal space launchers. We were figuring out how to measure or land 60 metric tons or more on Mars surface. We designed one of the first constellations where, at a touch of a button, the Army could image anywhere on the planet and within 5 minutes. And some of those satellites now are orbiting right now. So yeah, it was a super cool, nothing, the sky was not the limit, right? Like we got to take on a lot of challenges and try to figure out solutions to them. I just knew I wanted to go do my own thing. And I think it was hard in that I was making a ton of money. I was basically in charge of everything, operations, programs. I got to do design, and they were growing. And it was like, no, I need to go do my own thing. Like I had helped him get as far, but it wasn't my dream. And I think that's, so I think that's the key thing there is that I wanted to go try it on my own. In 2012, moved to Charleston and opened Dynepic. So we opened as a general product design firm. Always wanted to have my own product design firm. So we were working on other folks' products, helping them bring their ideas to fruition, as well as some of our own products. It was super cool. I think the neat part is that I got to focus on some of the ideas that I had and try to refine them and see if we could bring them out in a product on this planet, not in space. And I think as I was working on everybody else's product, the ecosystem here in Charleston hadn't grown up enough that they were able to get the funding to take their products to the next level, which was frustrating because I'd worked on probably a handful of products and they'd get to an MVP and they had good proof, but they couldn't take that past MVP to get their product to market. MVP means a minimum viable product. I said, okay, I'm gonna really focus in more on my own products and I'm gonna try to put the elbow grease behind it to bring those things to market. We were working on early wearable technology. I was really interested in the connected world, how everything was gonna come online. I thought it was gonna be more revolutionary to our everyday life than the internet. And I wanted to participate in that. So like as the Nike Fuel Band and all those wearables started coming out, we started looking at how do you do autonomous weight training tracking? How are you, how do you do gesture recognition with those objects? And that's when I was beating my hands up on a tricep rope at the gym, figuring out how I could count reps autonomously without the user doing anything, and said, someone just needs to solve this because there's more performance loss in the handle at this gym than anybody's going to get by adding technology to a wearable. And that's when Spiral Strength was born. So went home, started molding up rubber that was formable. It's actually thermoplastic, and came up with the cone-shaped grip design. In parallel with that, because you can't just work on one thing, I was investigating how kids could be inspired to kind of have a similar background to me by getting their hands into technology. We applied for National Science Foundation SBIR. So we put some of those IoT smart home kind of concepts into a connected toy line called Sensabots, and we were actually awarded a National Science Foundation SBIR. So I kind of have these things going in parallel. So bringing out this gym product and getting that product launched, as well as we did get the award on the NSF grant and starting to build out the connected toy line. Dynepic makes it really easy to create secure, privacy-certified, connected technologies and applications. And our Play Portal platform, which is our first platform, solves the critical space for children. So children are being left out of the connected world because there's very specific privacy regulation. In the United States, it's called COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. It basically says if a kid is under the age of 13, before you even take a tracking cookie from them online, you as an adult have to enter the transaction. You have to verify that you are an adult through a credit card transaction. You then have to be presented with all the data you're taking on your kid and then approve it just so that they can have that experience. And probably most people haven't even ever done that experience, which means nobody is complying, right? But what's happening is there's a lot of folks that don't know how to deal with it, and they so toy companies, game companies, and so they pretend kids don't exist. That's why kids, 13. Right? Which is why kids are on a lot of more adult-focused stuff. And then there's toy companies that don't bring out the cool products because they don't have the solutions to solve it. And we really found this out when we started inventing toys and taking them our toy lines, and they're like, Krissa, we're not Apple and Google. Like, we can't build this product. Like, we don't know how to build the cloud framework. Toys are getting hacked. How do we solve that? And I was like, well, I used to run presidential networks and secure communication satellites. I guess I can figure that out for you. So, and that's really why we started building Play Portal. And now, so we started on Play Portal in 2014, and now today, right, Facebook, Google, everybody is in the limelight over their data privacy and their security practices, and we have the one framework where users own their data, secured in our servers, and brands get to leverage it. So we have good market timing now for our cloud solution. Really, to solve the connection, the safe connection of kids to the digital world. We had to go build this kid-safe family network. So we had to build a network that allowed kids to have a profile, parents to provide consent, parents to be able to have control over the kids and how they're interacting through the platform. Then, in order to activate all the connected toys and make that really simple, we built developer tools on top of that, a family account structure. And so those developer tools now make it incredibly fast and easy to bring connected Play products to market that address all ages. So you can be a company that brings something out, and you can actually have kids use your product. So what we want to be is basically the good housekeeping seal of approval. So the logo you see on my chest is our secure glyph. And the goal is really when a parent pulls a product off the market or they see an app, that they can go, oh, I get how it works, I know how it's controlled, and I know I own my family's data on this product. And that's the goal, is to provide kind of that, it's really a safety net, but it's a just peace of mind for the parent that, okay, my kids can use these connected products. Because a lot of parents are so scared, and rightly so, of letting their kids be connected. But then their kids are connected. They're on Xbox, they're on the Switch, they're using the Alexa. These are all internet connected things, and they're not really treating the kids as kids. So how about we have a network where a kid can be a kid, be connected in an ecosystem with all ages, and make the parent have peace of mind, and also allow the brands the easy way to engage this tech-savvy generation, but also protect them. So Play Portal is its own, I hate the word social network. It has a bad connotation. We can say family network. But PlayPortal is its own. So what we couldn't do, unlike the adult world where you can go use whatever developer tools you want to build your product, kids didn't have a way to log in. So we had to go build that. And that's really why we had to go build this entire kids-safe family network, is kids needed a place where when they logged in with their PlayPortal credentials, it could go out to our servers and say, yep, it's the kid, and allow them to log in. And also not transfer that data to the brands, right? So the kid can access their data in their secure pod on our servers, but that brand never has access to that data except the analytics about, the de-identified analytics about the child. So we have two ways that we work with manufacturers and app developers. So if you're just a developer at home and want to use it, you can just use our SDKs, drop them in, and we make it really fast. We're complete backend as a service, so no spinning up your own servers. We secure our servers. So you just use our tools and you can get your app to market. Or if you're a big toy company looking for a digital solution for your company to go digital and engage families, you can take basically a cut and paste of our platform. We manage that for you, and you can now have a turnkey solution to create your own app creation and distribution platform around your brand. It was technology in my hands at a very young age that provided me the skills that set me on a path where I became this innovator. And yet, when I watched my friends all have kids, they wouldn't let their kids have connected technologies. They were taking the tech, and the more educated my friends were, the more they would take the tech out of their kids' hands. And I was like, hold on. That tech is crucial to their development, to the world that they're going to live in. And they have no understanding of the past. They only know what this current world and the future. And yes, they expect all the walls to react to them. They expect all the experiences to be personalized. So we have to figure out how to solve this problem. You can't just ignore it and take technology away. That is not the future of our world. Right, wrong, and different is not the future. So we have to figure out how we can solve those problems today for a better tomorrow. And that's really why we're developing PlayPortal. To innovate, you need to have a problem. So it's all about solving problems around you, and you have things that are friction points in your everyday life. And once you identify a problem that you're passionate about, because passion is so important, like you have to wake up every day and want to do this and be passionate about it. Once you're passionate about it and you have a problem, then it's figuring out how do you solve this, and it's listening to everybody who is kind of the stakeholder in the problem, and not taking their solutions, but just listening and observing on how they operate in that problem. So with PlayPortal, for example, there's a lot of stakeholders. So there's the brands that can't engage kids today, or that are ignoring kids today, or don't know that they're actually leaving a bunch of play patterns on the table, but they are. Then there's the parents, and the parents are concerned, right? And so you got parents taking a lot of tech away from kids, or wanting to keep them safe, but don't want to also be, want to give their kids freedom, but want them safe. And then there's the kid who just wants to have fun, learn, explore. And so really we've had to look at all elements and try to build the solution. And this is actually why building PlayPortal has been so complex, is we've had a lot of stakeholders, and then you have to put a business model around it to say, okay, there's a solution here, and then here's how we go sell it, right? Right now we're not really trying to sell to consumers yet. We're selling more to the business side, so we're a B2B to C company. Soon we get to reverse that. As you get more PlayPortal stuff on the shelves, we'll work with the brands to then create the consumer awareness around why they should be looking for our logo and wanting their kids, secured with those products, and demanding that those products that aren't on our platform get on our platform so that they can have the control and peace of mind when their kids are online. we were developing connected toys. We were taking those into toy companies, and they're saying, we can't develop these, toys aren't secure. Or we don't have the skill set to bring these to market. And so we started going down the path of, okay, let's put the toys aside. Let's go be a software platform. Let's go put the screens together for what that looks like, listening to all the constituents. Then went back into the same toy company and said, hey, what do you think? And we got a few different people around the table, and they're like, does this exist? We'd be buying this already if this existed. So then getting those validation and proof points along the way. There's certain things that people didn't believe we could do. We couldn't be like, you can't run parents through a credit card transaction to get them to pay to allow the data. Like a lot of the toy companies were like, parents will never do that. So that's why they were never asking for consent. And we developed an experience where it was a chat with Santa, where it was actually a chat as Santa experience, where the parent got to chat as Santa with their kid through the platform. And it was an early test. Would someone pay? During Christmas, we had this hyper-focused ad campaign, and we were able to prove that, yeah, we could activate. So yeah, we did the chat with Santa application. We were able to break down that notion that parents wouldn't go through those steps to give the consent for their kids to be connected. So it's just about finding the friction points, breaking them all down. I will say Play Portal is the hardest thing I've ever done. It's harder than rocket science because there are so many stakeholders and it's such a big thing we're tackling. I mean, we are tackling this, and I believe we have a better solution than any of the big tech companies have put together, right? So when people say, who are your competitors, right? Like, well, Google, Facebook, Apple, these folks haven't come up with the frameworks. And we're, in my opinion, have a better solution, and we're working to activate this industry in a privacy compliant manner. I think now privacy is the talk, right? 2019 is all about privacy with GDPR in Europe, and now privacy regulation hitting every single state and federal government talking about it here in the US. Now everybody's coming, I think, to the table, and I still think, though, we offer the best solution for the family space. When I originally founded Dynepic, I needed to pull in a partner because legal protection is always best to have a multi-member entity. And when I thought about who would I want to start a company with that I could trust and would want to be my partner, it was just logical that my mom would be it. It was super cool when we started obviously as a product design firm. She wasn't really involved in the day-to-day business, right? Like, she still was very interested in how our products were going and very invested in their success. But when we got the National Science Foundation grant to work in the kids space, my mom is a 40-year early childhood educator. And so she got to, work on that SBIR with the team and help really innovate on how to bring these connected toys out. So it's been really rewarding, I think, to work with my mom and kind of see her brain power put to use on developing what we're doing with Play Portal. I like starting businesses with family. Even when I spun out Dynepic Sports into a separate entity, I didn't know my sister-in-law very well, and thought she had the skill set, though, that would be a good complement to what I was doing. And so I asked her to be my partner in Dynepic Sports, and I love it. It's caused us to grow so close. She can complete my thoughts, and she knows what I need, and she can execute things a lot better than anyone else around me, just because we work so closely together. I really believe in pulling together the right team out of the gate. So figure out what you want to accomplish and pull that team together. So Dynepic Sports actually just opened a digital division called Algorithm. And for that, I've worked to pull the right team members in. I've learned a lot along this startup evolution. And I really believe if you can do it at the beginning, do it. Pull the right team in at the beginning, but only do it if everybody it offers the skill sets that are needed, and you really trust them. Like a lot, I mean, I would say it's more important to choose your founder, or you need to be just as picky as you pick your spouse as you would pick a founder. Don't just go into business with someone and you don't know anything about them. You really have to know who they are at the core before you go into business with them, which is why family can be so awesome, is you really do know who they are. You know, and anything can go sideways, you know, when money's on the table and, you know, you're so invested in things. I think that's usually where maybe family businesses get a bad name, but for us, you know, yeah, it really works for us. When we opened Dynepic, obviously it was all self-funded. So we were working to grow organically by taking in other people's projects and selling our own products. We also had the SBIR funding from the National Science Foundation. So we went to the Harbor Entrepreneurship Center's accelerator. So we were in cohort 1. We really were looking at, hey, can we launch a business around this connected play? At the time, we were the toy line, right, the connected toy line. And we're like, is this its own business? And I really wanted to get in with the mentors that they had at the Harbor. So they had Christine Osborne, who knew the specialty toy store space. They had Dr. David Wyman, who was a toy inventor and also the head of entrepreneurship at the College of Charleston. I was like, all right, I need to go, if there's a business to put together here, I want to go surround myself with these folks. So as I went through the Harbor and I won the wild pitch at Dig South, it came with an investment check, and it kind of came with a decision. Okay, what do we do with Dynepic? We got this sports company well, we have this sports line that's doing really well, selling on its own, and then we have this toy stuff. And we decided, okay, let's go big or go home. Is kind of the phrase I said. I said, let's go big or go home. Let's go take venture backing in Dynepic. So to do that, I spun the sports stuff out because it was really unrelated to anything that Dynepic was going to do moving forward. So we spun that out into a separate business, and then we took investment on the connected play side. So it's really about cleanliness for the investors, that you make sure that they know what they're investing in. I would definitely recommend no one takes it lightly when you decide you want to take investment on your company, right? You go from running your company every day, and sure, all the financial decisions fall on your shoulders, but the minute you take investment, you now have to pay that. I mean, those investors are investing in you because they're looking for a multiple X return on their investment. So the day we took investment, right, it really changed my thinking at Dynepic about what, you know, the focus and the drive and the scale that we need as a company to get that return back to the investors. And so I would say, especially owning 2 companies, so Dynepic Sports, which still is self-funded, growing itself, and now a venture-backed company, I get to see both sides of the equation. And I always recommend to people, like, really make sure that you want to be part of that, that you can't grow the company any other way, and you really want to be a highly scalable company before you take venture backing. Because if that's not your ultimate goal, most investors, you know, don't want to be part of a lifestyle business. They want to see a large exit. And if that's not where you want to go, then don't even consider venture capital. I know it's the shiny object that everybody talks about at the accelerators, but, you know, I really make people stop and think about that before they just go, oh yeah, I got to raise capital. Because one, raising capital is so hard. It is a full-time job. You're doing pitch decks. You're always on the road. You're hearing no 1,000 times. You're having to explain yourself. And it is definitely a challenge. And we've been quite successful in the local area raising capital for Dynepic, but it is my full-time job. It's interesting to be part of 2 companies that are very different business models. I enjoy being on the global stage of Dynepic. I mean, I've been on TV shows, I've been interviewed, we raised capital, like, that's super cool because we are setting the standard for the world, and like, I feel like I'm responsible to do that given my background. I'm still trying to figure out how to run that company, though, in a way that I don't have to have a massive organization and we can still accomplish that goal. Because I really enjoy the sports side, and that just like having products that, I mean, people take snapshots of they'll like be at a gym and they'll like send me a photo like, Krissa, is this your product here? It's just super cool to have a company that has a big impact, but through a smaller product. It doesn't have to be this grandiose take over the world idea, and you can have an amazing life. You can set your own schedule, you can innovate, you can, feel, rewarded by, others using your product. And so I really enjoy the creative side of that company. It has less of the management that comes along with a venture-backed firm. So with PlayPortal and my team, it's always like, it seems like the next thing, right? We have to get excited about that. You got to keep the enthusiasm. I mean, when you're going through something really tough, you got to keep setting like these mini goals, and so we have a hashtag at Dynepic, and it's almost there. And to be honest, it's now become kind of the funny thing, right? Like, because we're always having that big pitch that could change the tide, that could put us over, and it's like, but really, to be honest, the success is made by every single day making one small step in that direction. Everyone thinks it's like, oh, this is like the game changer thing that's gonna make me big. No, it's the small thing you do every single day that makes you big. And so I think hashtag almost there is just to keep doing those small steps, and pretty soon you'll end up taking over the world. I learned that from just setting big goals for myself. I've never, I grew up on 9 acres in a mobile home with no bedroom, right? Like, and I never thought, like, in my head, like, there's like this limitless life that I could have. Whatever I wanted to do, I could go do it. I've just never, I guess, seen barriers in the world. And I think that's probably why, even being female, like, I was like, I want to be a mechanical engineer. I want to do this. I love doing that. Like, I just don't see barriers. I just see opportunity. And I've always just wanted to go, I guess, leave my mark, but have intense fun along the way. Life is way too hard to work with people you don't want to work with, to put up with stuff you don't want to do. Like, I'm continually trying to figure out how to make this process and this journey exactly what I want it to be, because when it's hard and grueling, it doesn't have to be. Like, it could be easier. And, it can be fun. Even if it's hard work, it can be fun. Anyone can be an innovator and an inventor. It's really just a mindset. But for those that are inspired to actually take action, which I think is the biggest first step, is just to start talking about it, getting networked, and start prototyping. You got a garage, go find some hand tools, figure out how to put it together, or if it's an app, go learn how to code, go find some other folks that maybe have skill sets and put together a team and just start doing it. If I knew how hard it was going to be to build Dynepic and do what we're doing with PlayPortal, I probably wouldn't even have started down this path. I mean, literally, we've been working on this since 2013. It's now 2019. And it's been a grind. I think failure is actually just a process of refinement. So, I mean, design, you fail and fail and fail, but you're learning something every time you do that. I had a thesis project I was working on at the Air Force Academy, and it didn't work out. And I remember my professor, he was a Rhodes Scholar, was like, Krissa, my entire Rhodes thesis didn't work out, but we proved that you shouldn't take this approach to do that. And kind of taught me that, failure is just part of the evolution to greatness. So you should be willing to fail so you can succeed. The secret tools that are in my tool belt is that you have to just be yourself. You pull out the tools that are for you. I honestly find these people that are trying to be somebody else. And I think if you just be you and you do you, that you will be successful. What makes me successful is I never give up. I'm an MIT grad, United States Air Force veteran. I'm a rocket scientist. I own multiple companies, and I do my best work in my garage. My name is Krissa, and those were my notes on innovation.